Well, the title of my message today is We Need You. We need you. We need you fully awake, fully alert, fully present, fully engaged, fully committed to what it is that God has called and created every one of us to do. We're created as social beings. We know from research and from psychological science that we will experience a failure to thrive if we are not adequately socialized, meaning we're not engaging with other human beings appropriately. Some statistics on loneliness. So if we're not adequately socialized, what happens is we experience this thing called loneliness. Number one, we see 47% of Americans saying that they don't have a meaningful relationship. So nearly half of America is saying, I don't have a meaningful relationship. Another one is 1 in 3 Americans feel lonely. 1 in 3. So if you're sitting in a row, you look to your left and your right, there's 3 of you sitting there. 1 in 3 of you statistically are experiencing this thing called loneliness. Women are more likely to feel lonely than men. People who are lonely actually attribute mistakes and error to themselves. People who are not lonely, people who are in community and in relationship with other people, they attribute mistakes to the situation or the circumstance. So we actually interpret life's events based on if we feel like we're in community or we feel like we're lonely in isolation. Loneliness is now proven to actually physically harm us. Here's some things that can happen. We can experience depression, but we now know that you can experience early death, more likely to get Alzheimer's. Loneliness is actually proven now to risk you at early death by 26%. 26%. So you're more likely to die an early death by 26% if you're walking in this thing called loneliness. And so we are walking in a society right now where we are more connected than ever before. Right now, more than at any other point in time in history, we are more connected. I have more information. I have more access to you. I can DM you. I can text you. I can email you. I can call you. You know, when I was growing up, you had to literally call somebody's landline, wait for them to get home and get their answering machine, and then call you back in order to get contact. Now, I can send you 10 different ways of getting in touch with you. I can tweet you. I can social media, DM you on Instagram. I can get you on Facebook. I can send you a text message. I can get access to you a whole lot of ways. We're more connected than ever before, and yet right now, we are more depressed, more anxious, and more lonely than at any other point in time in history. So how is that? How can I be more connected than ever before and more lonely than ever before? Well, this unbelievable conundrum has been studied, and the difference is perceived connection and authentic connection. And there's a difference between a perceived connection, meaning social media, texting, I'm around a lot of people, I have a full calendar, busy at work, I'm around a lot of people. Perceived connection and authentic connection, knowing and being known by my community. My daughter has a bunch of hair clips. She has long hair and refuses to have her hair cut because she wants to be like Tangled. And so to this day, she's 4 years old. She still has not gotten a haircut. And so I got to do something to get this tangled mane out of her face. And so I'll use these hair clips. And these hair clips that she loves inevitably have these little things glued to them, like a flower or a rainbow or different things that are glued to these hair clips. Well, wouldn't you know, they don't make these hair clips to last forever, and so eventually it falls off. And one day, she brought me the hair clip, because I am the hair clip fixer. She brought me the hair clip, and she brought me a glue stick. She said, Mommy, I need you to fix this. I said, oh, that's cute, but a glue stick will do nothing. So I grabbed what every person has in their repertoire, a glue gun, hot glue gun. Where are my hot glue gun people at? Yes, hot glue guns solve everything. So I had hot glue gun it, but wouldn't you know, sometimes that thing even breaks and falls off. So then I grab out the old trusty Gorilla Glue. When you use Gorilla Glue, that sucker ain't going nowhere, never. So I pull out that Gorilla Glue, I put that sucker on there, and it never goes anywhere. Now, this is the difference between perceived connections and true authentic connections. Perceived connections are glue stick connections. Authentic connections are gorilla glue connections. And we're walking through life satisfied with a bunch of glue stick connections, which is why we feel lonely. When in reality, we're designed and created to walk through life with gorilla glue connections that actually help us feel a sense of connection and community, being known by the people in our community. One of my classes in my PhD program had us study the ramifications of loneliness, and so that's how I knew those side effects of loneliness, but they also gave us the solutions, what research has shown and found to be the solutions for loneliness. And I started laughing as my professor taught us these solutions, because here's what the solutions are. This is psychological science, secular research. This is what has been discovered as the solutions for combating loneliness. Number one, join a group. Join a group. Wonder where I heard that one before. Join a group to experience connection and communication with others. We're supposed to join a group. Number two, share about yourself. Listen to others. See, there's a big difference between knowing community and being known by community. Knowing people can make a difference, but being known makes all the difference. There's a difference there. Sharing about myself, being known. Number three, volunteer. Serve other people is the greatest way to combat loneliness. Well, you know what's so funny is whereas I heard of these things before. So I literally start laughing in my class. My professor's like, "Why are you laughing?" Nothing, no problem here. Just trying to get that A. But I started laughing because literally, where have we heard these solutions before? In the Word of God. God's plan and his orchestration for community is join a group, is serve other people, is be known by the community around me. This is the plan that God has laid out for us that now secular science and research is catching up to. And yet, we know what we're supposed to do and we do not do it. And I want us to grasp this concept of understanding that it's not just about you and what you want and what you need, but it's also about what the person on your left and your right, what they need. And shifting our mentality, not by what I get, but what I give. You see, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And changing the mentality of approaching relationships by thinking, what's in this for me? What do I get out of this? And instead looking at it as, what do I get to give to this? How can I help this person or help this situation? How can I make a difference in the life of another in this context? Not just looking at what's in this for me, but what do I get to give in this situation? And there's a beautiful story about two women named Ruth and Naomi. And these two women experience an unbelievable, authentic gorilla glue connection because of how they approach relationships. Now, these two women, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, are living in a time and place in history where who you are married to is everything. Where if you're a single woman, you are seen as less than in society. You're at risk of being able to provide for yourself. You're at risk of being able to carry on, being able to own land. Things like this were not a normal thing. And so here we have Naomi, the mother-in-law, whose husband dies. And she's left going, okay, what now? But she has a couple sons. And when the husband dies, the sons step in, they take care of her. And then both sons die. Now she's left without a husband and without sons. And this is a time when there was famine in the land. Food was very hard to come by. Food was very difficult to find. Naomi was an Israelite woman who was living in Moab, and she had a Moabite daughter-in-law named Ruth. Now, this is a time of political unrest, social unrest, economic hardship. This is not an ideal time. It's a time when judges ruled the land, so kings were not in place. It was a time in the book of Judges when judges ruled the land. And here she is, without a husband, without sons, alone, going, how am I going to get through life and provide for myself? And so if you read with me in the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verses 8 through 11, and then verses 14 through 18, it says, "Then Naomi said to her two daughters-in-law, 'Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud. They said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have more sons who could become your husbands?" At verse 14, they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her." But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you from me." When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. Let's pray. Jesus, we thank you for the opportunity to be in your word. God, I pray that the words are of me that would fall to the floor. The words that are of you, Jesus, would pierce our hearts. And God, you would speak to us today. In your name we pray. Amen. Here's the point I want us to grasp today, is that we need to do for one what we wish we could do for everyone. Do for one what we wish we could do for everyone. There is a psychological concept that I teach about every semester in Introduction to Psychology. I just lectured about it last week. It's a psychology concept called the bystander effect. The bystander effect is a psychological phenomenon that says when there are other people present, I do nothing. And when I'm the only one there, then I intervene. They tested this concept by running an experiment in New York City, literally on the streets of New York City. They took a 7-year-old little girl, and they had her pretend to be being abducted. So they had this man who was there, and this man was pretending to abduct the 7-year-old little girl. And this little girl would scream on the streets of New York City, "Stop, stop, you're not my dad. I don't want to go with you. Help, help, he's taking me." And they showed video footage of people literally crossing to the other side of the street, watching the whole thing happen, and yet doing nothing. They tested this multiple times and saw every single time in the presence of other people, they did nothing. And yet, when one person was present, a person would intervene. A person would do something. This is why when you're going to call 911, what do they say? You don't yell out, "Somebody call 911. They say, "You in the blue shirt, call 911. You have to get specific because in the face of an emergency, we unfortunately freeze, unfortunately go into shock, and don't do what needs to be done in the moment. We freeze and do nothing, assuming that somebody else is going to do something. Surely, when this little girl's being abducted, somebody else is going to get in the way. Somebody else is going to speak up. Somebody else is going to stop this from happening. We assume somebody else is going to do something. And I want to challenge us today with the concept, what if you're the one? What if you're the person that God has appointed and put into that situation to be the solution that that person needs? You see, when I was praying for this message, I believe there are those of you who right now know somebody who's struggling with depression to the point of suicidal ideation, and you have done nothing because you assume somebody else will do something. You're the one. You're the person who can help. What if I literally, this week, sense there are people that you know who are considering walking out on their marriage, leaving their families, and you're waiting for somebody else to say something. Somebody else is going to speak up. Somebody else is going to help. Somebody else is going to speak some truth. Somebody else is going to comfort. What if you're the one? There are some people that you know who are considering walking away from God, walking away from their faith, and you hope, you believe, you think somebody else is going to say something, somebody else is going to do something. What if you're the one? And what if we changed our mentality rather than waiting for somebody else to be the one, we decided I'm the one. And I'm going to get in the way of that person wanting to commit suicide. I'm going to get in the way of that person wanting to leave their family. I'm going to get in the way of that person wanting to leave their faith. I'm going to be the one who helps make the difference. And I get it, we can't do everything for everyone, but what if we adopted the mentality to do for one what we wish we could do for everyone? It would change the way we live, it would change the way we give, it would change the way we interact, it would change the way we serve, it would change the way we sacrifice if we started to see ourselves as having a solution that the world desperately needs. And this is what we see Ruth do. She decides in this moment, I'm going to do for one what she wishes she could do for everyone. And it changes everything for Naomi. You see, we need you. Your church needs you. Your workplace needs you. Your family needs you. Your spouse needs you. Your kids need you. We need you. And what if we changed our mentality to see ourselves as being the one that people need? And there's some things we can learn from Ruth about how she does this that I think we can adopt and implement today. Number one, Ruth persisted when Naomi opposed. Ruth persisted even when Naomi opposed. Verse 8, then Naomi said to her daughters-in-law, go back each of you to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband. Then she kissed them goodbye. They wept aloud and said to her, we will go back with you to your people. Because remember, they're in Moab, and Naomi is an Israelite, so she's getting ready to journey back home, and she's saying, stay here where you belong. Stay in your known culture. Stay in your known language. Stay near your family. And instead, Naomi is telling them, return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? She's saying, I'm not going to have more sons. I cannot give you another husband. I have nothing to offer you. She's literally pushing these women away, pointing out all the reasons they should go, even to the point of like, kind of mean. Like, she's like, your dead husbands. It's like she's saying some emotionally challenging things to hear, trying to push them away. Like, listen, you have dead husbands. Go home to your family. She's pushing them away, emotionally distancing herself, saying, go, because she knows her options are limited. Naomi knows she doesn't have anything to offer them. Naomi knows she doesn't have something to give them, so she's saying, go. And because Naomi sees herself as a liability, not having any value or worth or anything able to extend, she pushes them away. And how often do we do that? Somebody offers us a solution to a need we have, and yet we push them away because we don't see ourselves as being worthy of their time or their inconvenience or their sacrifice. And so we'll push people away saying, no, I don't need it, I don't need it. How we see ourselves dictates how we allow people to care for us. And Naomi didn't see herself as being worthy in that moment because she had no husband and no sons. And so she's pushing away Ruth. Sometimes I have to be what my friends need, not what they want. Sometimes I have to persist past the point of what my friend is telling me they need, and I have to show up and be what they want. About 3 years ago now, during Echo Conference Week, I got vertigo, which was one of the worst experiences of my life. Has anybody in here ever had vertigo? It is a terrible experience where the world spins and you can't control it. It has to do with the equilibrium being off in your head, and so your body loses its ability to balance itself. And I'll never forget Monday night, the week of Echo Conference, we had just had our prayer service, and I was walking down this aisle out the back of the room, and I tripped. And I stood up, and I felt dizzy. The next morning, I woke up, and the world was spinning, kind of like you're on a teacup ride, but you're not on a ride. And I was spinning to the point where I was vomiting profusely. Ended up, this was Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm in the hospital, dehydrated, hooked up to IVs, and they cannot figure out how to get the vertigo to stop. You have to kind of wait till, and I'd never had vertigo up until this moment, and I never had vertigo again from this moment. But in this moment, I did not know what to do. And this is the week of Echo Conference, one of the busiest weeks of my year. We're gearing up, we're pressing in, we're ready for God to move, and I can do nothing. Literally nothing. I had friends reach out, hey, can I bring you a meal? No, I'm good, I'm okay. I haven't eaten for 3 days. I had babies. I had twin babies, literally babies. Hey, can I come help with your babies? No, I'm good. It's okay. I don't need anything. Hey, can I show up with some medicine? No, I'm good. Hey, I'm a physical therapist. I can come help. No, it's okay. There reached a point where I kept saying, no, I'm okay. And people just showed up at my front door. Somebody shows up, they help me with food. Somebody shows up, they help me with my babies. Kim back here shows up, starts moving my head, trying to get there's a crystal in your ear apparently that helps make you be in balance. I was like, I had no idea. This is the weirdest thing I've ever heard of. I literally have people coming out of the work. Michelle's helping me. I was so desperate at this point I could no longer oppose, but wouldn't you know, for days I resisted. For days I said, I don't need anything. For days I said, it's okay. And it wasn't until people broke through my barrier, showed up at my front door, and said, I have the solution you need. Let me help in your time of need. It was the difference maker that humbled me to a place of recognizing that when I'm in need, I have to learn to ask for help. But Naomi doesn't want the help. Naomi doesn't want Ruth to be with her. Naomi doesn't want Ruth to remain. We have to persist even when they resist. We are required to show up for the people in our lives that need us. It's necessary that we show up, even when they don't want us to. In Proverbs 11:25, it says, those that refresh others are they themselves refreshed. It's one of my favorite passages because it teaches us that when I show up for other people, God promises to show up for me. So when I pour out my life like a drink offering, God promises to replenish me. And yet we spend so much of our life trying to conserve everything as opposed to giving everything away that we live with this poverty mindset and mentality that I have to conserve my energy. My grandpa taught me as a child what it means to be a Christian. And I remember several years ago talking to my grandpa, and he reminded me of this. Grandpa has passed away since, but he used to watch every single Sunday our services online and would watch the podcast and would call me and critique and give me feedback. He was a pastor for over 40 years, and I loved those conversations with Grandpa. And he reminded me this, that as a Christian, he said, this is what we're called to do. We're called to live as a candle, and we burn to give other people light. He said every single one of us, we're called to be a candle, and we burn to give other people light. The problem is we're in the business of conservation. We're in the business of boundaries. We're in the business of preservation. We're in the business of, let me protect what's mine. And I get boundaries. I think they're a wonderful thing at times. I'm a mental health professional, have taught psychology for over 14 years. I get boundaries, okay? However, sometimes we respect people's boundaries to the point they're drowning. We have the life preserver, and we do nothing. We respect people's boundaries to the point where even though we know what they need, we don't offer what they need because, they told me they don't need me. What if all those friends had listened to me saying I don't need anything the week I had vertigo? I would be a mess. Probably still. I would be a mess. But they persisted even though I resisted, that even though I opposed, they persisted. We have a solution to what people need. Even though that friend who's depressed tells you, no, don't show up. You show up on their front door and you sit with them and you let them know they're not alone and that you care. And you're going to fight this fight with them and you're not going anywhere, even though they say they don't need you in that moment. You can be the difference maker between that other friend who's wrestling with an addiction and you know it's time for them to get sober and you know exactly what they need the help with, and you get to be the difference maker. What if we stopped caring so much about whether or not I'm respecting their boundaries and started getting in people's way between them and death? I'm tired of doing funerals for suicide. I'm tired of seeing people take their own lives because they're in such a desperate place of depression. We're so cautious about respecting their boundaries that we don't show up and be what they need when they need it. We're a community and we need you and we need each other. That's how God made us, interdependent on one another. And what if we started showing up for people in the way they desperately need us to? And that's what Ruth does, that even though Naomi tells her, go, you have dead husbands, leave, she still shows up. Number 2, Ruth remained when Naomi pulled away. Ruth remained when Naomi pulled away. In verse 14, It says, at this, they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and to her gods. Go back with her. You see, Orpah does what normal people would do. She's in her home country, she's in her hometown, she's in her home territory. So she says, hey, go back. Orpah tried. She said, no, I'm going to stay with you. No, I'm going to remain. She tried a couple times. And then Naomi, after multiple times of saying, no, go, go, go. Then what does Orpah do? She does what normal people do. She leaves. And yet Ruth says, nope, I'm not going nowhere. You see, a true friend walks in when the rest of the world walks out. True community remains when the rest of the world walks out. Ruth decides to stay. There is something so powerful about a ministry of presence. Sometimes we don't do anything because we don't feel like we have the right words to say. Guess what? Sometimes you don't need to say anything. You just need to sit and be. You just need to be present. You just need to sit next to them. You just need to be there. Let them know they're not alone. When I was laid up with vertigo, I didn't need anyone to say anything. I just wanted to feel the comfort of somebody's presence nearby me. You may have a sick friend who right now you're like, I don't know what to say. I don't have the right things to do. I don't know. Just show up and be. Just be. There is something so powerful about a ministry of presence. And literally every single significant season of my life has been marked by a friend who remained and journeyed with me through that dark, hard season. Every single significant season, because God always provides divine alignments for divine assignments. And every single divine assignment that I have walked in has been marked by a friend who was faithful in that season and provided, God gave me that divine alignment to help shoulder and carry the burden that I was navigating. And Ruth decides in this moment, guess what? God's called me to you. I'm going to remain with you. I'm not going to go even though you're telling me to go. I'm going to stay. I'm going to remain. I'm going to be there because God has gifted me with a divine alignment for this divine assignment. And then number 3, Ruth declared when Naomi doubted. Ruth declared when Naomi doubted. We see in verse 16, says, Ruth replies, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. See, up until this point, Naomi's saying, go away, leave. Ruth says, don't urge me to leave or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me ever so severely, even if death separates you from me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. You see, Ruth declares in the midst of Naomi's doubt. She speaks truth amidst the darkness. 4 times Naomi tells her, go, leave, I don't want you here. But Ruth refused to let Naomi believe the lie that she was better off alone. That is the tactic of the enemy for every single one of our lives, is to think we're better off alone or that we don't deserve the community that God has gifted us with. And Ruth remains. You see, I would rather be hurt by the truth than comforted by a lie. And I need my friends to tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. And when I trust my friends' hearts, I can trust their words. That's why it's so important to have community, to engage with community, so that when the time comes that you need truth, you already trust their hearts, therefore you can trust their words. I'm going to invite the team to come up, and I want to close with a couple thoughts. See, Ruth had resolved to be by Naomi's side no matter what. She knew in that moment that she couldn't offer a lot, but she could offer a ministry of presence. Ruth was just like Naomi. She had no money, she had no land, she had no husband. She had nothing to offer but her ministry of presence. And Ruth decides, I'm going to persist even though you oppose. I'm going to remain even though you pull away and you push me away. I'm going to declare even though you doubt. Ruth makes a decision to stay by her side no matter what. Now, Ruth couldn't do this for everyone, but she could do it for one. And she makes a decision to do what no one else was willing to do. Even her other sister-in-law leaves. When I was a kids pastor About 15 years ago now, I was working as a children's pastor in the Seattle area, and we gathered every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. for prayer in preparation for our early service. And when I was walking out of 7 a.m. prayer one day, I noticed this little girl sitting in the lobby all by herself. And she was 7 years old, and it struck me because I thought, what is a 7-year-old little girl doing at the church by herself at 7 a.m.? And I kept walking because we had a big kids ministry. We ran over 1,000 children every weekend, and I had a staff I had to run and interns to care for and hundreds of volunteers to make sure they were in the right place. And so I kept walking, and I felt this moment, this check in my spirit where I was like, what's going on with that girl? But to be completely honest, I was busy. I had a lot of things I had to do. And so I kept walking for a moment, and I stopped, and I got to go see what's going on. So I turned back, walked back the long hallway, went into the lobby, and said, are you okay? She goes, yeah. Are you here by yourself? Yeah. Where's your mom? Well, mom's a server in Kirkland, which is about an hour away, and she didn't have anywhere to take me, so she brought me to church. It's the only safe place we knew where we could go. I said, where's your dad? She said, I don't know. 7-year-old little girl sitting at church by herself at 7 a.m. with this little white and blue basketball in her hands. And in that moment, I was like, gosh, I have so much stuff I have to do. I should get about my stuff. And I said, I can't leave you here by yourself. I said, do you want to come with me? She said, yeah. I'm like, this little girl doesn't know who I am or if I'm a good person. I'm like, okay, come along. And I had to fill the little Dixie cups with animal crackers in our preschool classes and fill our Dixie cups with water. And I said, do you want to help me? So she starts helping me fill the cups. And we went to the elementary room and started setting up for small group circles in the elementary room. And wouldn't you know, next Sunday, 7 a.m., here's a 7-year-old little girl with her white and blue basketball. I said, do you want to come? She said, yeah. So now she starts not just showing up at 7 a.m., sitting in the lobby. She starts coming with me into 7 a.m. prayer. We sit in service together, and she helps me. Her mom, never heard from her mom, had no idea what this little girl was doing. Nobody's checking in. And for 4 years, this little girl, every Sunday, 7 a.m., hanging with me, helping fill the little Dixie cups. Now, I couldn't do that as a children's pastor for every child, but I could do it for one child. And rather than truthfully viewing it as an inconvenience, I changed my mindset and started viewing it as an opportunity. And we had a family service similar to what we have here, where once a month we have Blast, where our elementary families gather and worship together. We had a family service just like that. And when this little girl was 11 years old, I asked her, I said, do you want to preach at our family service? She said, yeah. So she invites her mom. First time I ever saw her mom was at that family service. Her mom walks in, and this 11-year-old little girl, who the mom had no idea who I was, I introduce her, and I watch as her daughter preaches for about 8 minutes. And I see the mom raise her hand at the end of the service and give her life to Jesus as a result of her daughter's preaching. Now, what if I had just viewed that little girl as an inconvenience, which truthfully in the moment, I initially thought it was. But instead, I made a decision in that moment. I can't do this for everyone, but I can do for one what I wish I could do for everyone. What if this week, rather than viewing the mass numbers and quantities of needs around you, you zeroed in on one, and you decided to show up for one, and you decided to be there, to pray, to have a ministry of presence, to remain even though they pull away, to persist even though they oppose, to declare truth in their doubt and in their darkness? How different would their life look? How different would your life look if we simply decided to show up for other people? You see, what's most amazing about this story of Ruth and Naomi is Ruth sacrifices for Naomi, remains in a foreign land, goes to a place she didn't know anyone, and eventually Ruth meets a man named Boaz. Ruth and Boaz marry. Because of this marriage, Naomi, who pushed her away, who pulled away, who resisted, all of a sudden Naomi now has land, has a home, has plenty of food to eat. The very person she pushed away was the one that God used to provide the provision for a greater life than she had ever had before. she experiences all of this, and she watches as Ruth and Boaz have this amazing marriage. Well, wouldn't you know, Ruth and Boaz have children, and their grandson is named Jesse. And their grandson Jesse is the father of King David. If you look and trace Jesus' lineage all the way back to King David is a byproduct of Ruth deciding to remain, to persist, and to declare in the life of Naomi. That story would not exist as it does had not Ruth done what nobody else was willing to do. We never know the result of our obedience. We never know the outcome of what happens when we decide to do for one what we wish we could do for everyone. What if this week we decide to live our lives on mission, with a mission, coming with that invitation, looking to every single person, extending that we get to give them an invitation to accept the life-saving truth of the gospel message of Jesus Christ, not looking at life as something that happens to us, but living at life with a purpose, on purpose, for the greatest purpose that ever lived. Stop viewing that person as an inconvenience and start viewing them as an opportunity to bring life change, to change generational patterns, to correct things that had been wrong in the person's life. You get to be part of the solution. Don't be the bystander. Start seeing yourself as the one that God has sent into that darkness, that God brought into that depression, that God brought into that loneliness, that God brought into that anxiety. You carry the hope of the world. You carry salvation. What if we changed the way we looked at ourselves and saw that we have value because of not how great we are, but how great He is? And we walk and carry that value, and it's the very thing that the people in your work need, the very thing your family needs, the very thing your school needs. You carry life. You're a candle that burns so other people can have light. But are you shining? Is your light bright enough to show other people the way? And I believe this morning is an opportunity for us to set ourselves on fire. Maybe your candle has gone out, and now's the moment to reignite it, because guess what? When one candle burns, it's beautiful. But when 2 and 3 and thousands burn together, this city will forever change. This city will be permanently changed. This city will be different. It'll be like a light on the hill where everything will change because of the life-saving truth of the gospel message we carry. We have the hope of the world, and we're so slow to share it. People need to know. They need to know there's a world that's desperate and dying and hurting, and we carry the solution that they need.